Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today I'm going to explain a chilling horror mystery film called House of Nine. Spoilers ahead, so stay sharp. The movie begins with a wave of kidnappings across central London. 9 people vanish without a trace, men, women, even a cop on duty. Moments later, they reappear unconscious inside a strange, sealed house. One of them, a young woman named Lee, awakens on a bed, trembling with confusion. Beside her lies a man on another bed, still unconscious. Tiptoeing carefully, she explores the house and finds 2 more strangers knocked out in another room. Panic rising, Lee hurries to the front door, but it won't budge. She checks the windows too, only to find them bricked over, suffocating her last hope of escape. Desperation drives her into the basement, but every corner screams, "No way out." Crushed by the realization, she collapses into a panic attack, gasping for breath until darkness takes her. When she comes to, an elderly priest, Father Duffy, is there, gently watching over her. Lee looks around in horror. There are 9 captives in total. Whispers ripple through the group when suddenly a chilling voice booms through hidden speakers. The stranger introduces himself as the Watcher. He declares that the 9 were abducted to play a deadly game, the ultimate test of character. Under 75 cameras and countless microphones, they are being watched like lab rats. The rules are brutal. Only the last survivor wins freedom and $5 million. The voice mocks them, wishes them luck, then fades into silence. Panic explodes. Some think it's a prank. Others believe it's very real, but everyone fears the same truth. 8 of them must die. Tensions spike when a middle-aged man named Jay whips out a gun. The sight shocks them all. He announces he is a cop and argues the kidnappers wouldn't let him keep his weapon unless this was deadly serious. But rage flares in Albie, a black rapper who snaps that his brother was tortured by corrupt white cops. Their shouting nearly boils over until Francis, a French artist, cuts in with cold logic. "The Watcher wants us to kill each other." Dread sweeps through the room. Even Jay seems to agree. Trying to regain control, Jay insists they must work together to escape. The group searches every inch of the house. Jay scours the basement, while Albie finds a trapdoor in the ceiling. He pounds it with all his strength, but beyond it lies only another brick wall. Exhausted, they return to the living room only to catch Claire, a glamorous tennis star, sneaking drinks from the liquor cabinet. Furious, they accuse her of being selfish. Jay snaps the cabinet shut, warning that alcohol will only drive them into madness. After a tense exchange, the captives make a solemn pact they don't want to kill anyone. But even as they swear it, each knows deep inside, desperate people will do anything for $5 million. A loud thud rattles the house from the kitchen. Rushing in, they find a small box containing dinner, 1 piece of chicken and a boiled potato for each prisoner. Seated around the table, Father Duffy leads a prayer before they formally introduce themselves. By now, identities are laid bare: Jay the cop, Father Duffy the priest, Lee the chorus dancer, Claire the tennis celebrity, Francis the painter and his wife Cynthia, Albie the rapper, Max the fashion designer, and Shona the youngest, an addict on parole with a police ankle monitor. Her bracelet gives the group a sliver of hope. Surely police will track her. Later, they divide the 5 rooms. Duffy gets one to himself. Francis shares with Cynthia, and the rest pair off by drawing names. Jay lands with Lee, Claire fumes at being stuck with Shona, and Max reluctantly partners with Albie. Night falls and tensions flare. Claire catches Shona rifling through her bag and screams at her. In another room, Albie practices rhymes aloud while Max carefully hangs his precious jacket, terrified it's his only outfit. Father Duffy kneels in long prayers, while Jay and Lee whisper about their lives, trying to cling to humanity. Francis meanwhile mutters to his wife that the money is tempting, but Cynthia recoils at his words. Suddenly, in the dead of night, Jay senses danger. Someone attacks him in the darkness. He grabs for his gun and the intruder bolts into the shadows. Lee wakes in shock, but they see nothing in the blackness. The noise drags everyone from their rooms and accusations fly. Most fingers point at Albie, still bitter toward Jay. Chaos spirals until Father Duffy bellows for peace, forcing everyone back to their rooms. Morning comes and another horror dawns. The house's temperature climbs rapidly, suffocating them with heat. Bickering erupts again until they hear noises outside. Hope surges. It must be police tracing Shona's bracelet. They hammer on the front door, shouting for help. Only Francis stays behind, grimly convinced it's pointless. Desperate, Jay fires his gun at the door, but the sounds outside vanish. Silence crushes them, leaving the group to finally accept the truth. No rescue is coming. With despair heavy in the air, Jay unlocks the liquor cabinet, letting most drown themselves in drink. Only he, Father Duffy, and Lee abstain? Others guzzle and play music at first a slow, miserable tune that deepens their despair, then Albie switches to something wild and fast. Intoxicated bodies sway and stumble, forcing joy through the suffocating dread. Francis, drunk and restless, peels away from the group. He corners Lee, trying to flirt with her, but she coldly reminds him of his wife. Surprisingly, he backs off, slinking back to his room with bottle in hand. But once inside, his drunkenness turns sinister. He wraps his bedsheet around the bottle, smashes it, and sharpens the shards into weapons. He hides one above the doorframe and stashes the rest in the toilet tank secret, deadly tools waiting for their moment. The night spirals out of control. One by one, the captives drink themselves into oblivion until only Cynthia and Albie are left in the living room, laughing, flirting, and getting far too close. When Francis staggers back, the sight drives him into rage. He explodes, attacking Albie with fists flying. Cynthia tries to pull them apart, but Albie shoves too hard. Her head cracks against the railing, and she dies instantly. Seconds later, the others rush in frozen in shock at Cynthia's lifeless body. Albie stammers an apology, but fury takes over Jay. He traps Albie inside his room, jamming the door shut with an iron bar. The group covers Cynthia with a sheet and carries her down to the basement, a makeshift morgue for the fallen. Broken with grief, Francis finds her lipstick later and smears it on his lips before kissing his reflection in the mirror, madness creeping in. The next meal arrives only potatoes. Albie pounds on his door, demanding his share. After pressure from the group, Jay relents and throws him a tiny piece. Father Duffy, disgusted, insists Albie deserves more and marches to the door. Jay tries to stop him, but it's too late. The door opens. Albie bursts out like a beast, grabs the iron bar, and unleashes his fury. He smashes Jay's face over and over until it's unrecognizable. When the rage fades, Albie hides in his room, horrified by what he's done. Duffy kneels beside Jay who, with his last breath, presses the gun into the priest's hands. His body joins Cynthia's in the basement. This time, the dinner reward is twisted extra food, wine, and a chilling note. Good work! The game master rewards death itself. Paranoia divides them, most eat alone. Only Lee and Duffy cling to decency, eating together in silence. Shocking everyone, Francis carries a large share to Albie, muttering that Cynthia's death was only an accident. But horror returns. Lee and Duffy check on Albie and find him hanging by the neck with Max's scarf. The news spreads like wildfire. Arguments explode. Was it suicide or revenge? Francis insists Albie did it to himself, then points the finger at Max. Once again, Duffy bellows for calm, forcing the madness down. But Francis paints his lips again in secret, slipping deeper into insanity. Soon Claire catches Shona touching her things. An argument ignites into fists flying. In a flash of madness, Claire seizes a corkscrew and plunges it into Shona's throat. Blood sprays, and the addict collapses dead. Elsewhere, Lee washes her face only for Francis to creep in. He yanks the light fixture free and dunks it into her sink full of water. Lee screams as electricity rips through her body before she collapses lifeless. Meanwhile, Duffy approaches Max, offering alliance, but Max demands extra food in return. Greedy, he tries to steal anyway. The priest raises Jay's gun, forcing Max to back down. Guiding him away, they stumble upon Shona's corpse. Max panics and bolts back to the kitchen while Claire trembles nearby, claiming it was self-defense. Duffy tries to lead her away, but passing Lee's room, they discover her body too. The priest sinks to his knees in despair, giving Claire the chance to run. Francis appears, pretending shock at Lee's death. Duffy sees through him, aims the gun, but hesitates until Francis mocks him for being old and weak. Rage flares and Duffy fires, wounding Francis in the stomach, but Lee is not gone. Staggering back to life, she witnesses the shooting, eyes wide with terror. She flees to Francis's room and locks herself in the bathroom. Slipping on the toilet lid, she discovers his hidden stash of glass shards. In the kitchen, Claire rummages for food, but Max appears. With a twisted grin, he demands payment sliding off his belt. Instead of intimacy, he wraps it around her throat, choking her brutally. Duffy charges in, pleading for her life. When Max refuses, the priest pulls the trigger and kills him. But Francis reemerges, wielding a shard. He stabs Duffy in the back and snatches the gun. Without mercy, he shoots both Claire and the priest in the head. Laughter fills the house as Francis roars at the watcher, demanding his prize. Upstairs, Lee clutches a shard, using bedsheets to pull it free, but she drops the tank lid, the crash echoing. Francis hears it and storms after her. She stabs his leg and bolts down the corridor. He limps after her, cornering her at the balcony. With a savage lunge, he tackles her. Both plunge over the railing, crashing onto the table below. Miraculously, Lee lands on top, her shard piercing Francis's chest, killing him at last. The house falls silent. The front door creaks open, flooding the hall with blinding light. Lee stumbles through, trembling, and finds a huge bag, the $5 million prize. But her relief shatters. She walks into another corridor where another door slams shut behind her. On the other side, another house, filled with hollow-eyed survivors clutching identical bags, their faces twisted by trauma, their souls hollow. Lee realizes in horror the nightmare isn't over. It has only just begun.